everyone. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Bahashim Rakakodash, double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, and salutations to the elect. This is Brother Lawyer from Great Millstone, Miami, and the topic I want to go into in this lesson will, be concerning crying out to the Lord. And, what inspired this lesson, through the Spirit is I was meditating, on the times that we're approaching, the time of Jacob's trouble, the time of the hour of temptation, the time of the persecution and the insurrection, the great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. You know, that we will have to go through. Of course, we understand. That this time of evil will catch the whole world off guard. Of course. And that the people who don't believe in Yahweh Hashem Yahushua and who don't have the truth are going to catch the brunt of the hell that's coming. Okay, but those of us who are of the body of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, we will go through certain persecutions and temptations, in this time that we're approaching. Okay, and we will be in tight situations. Okay, and in order to get through those times, in order to endure in those times, in order to be delivered in those times, we will be put into these situations where we are going to be crying out to Yahweh Shema Shai. And when I mean crying, I mean literally crying. You know what I'm saying? A passionate cry, a supplication, begging to the Lord for safety, for salvation, for deliverance. And the scriptures speak to that, and of course not saying brothers don't understand that or, believers don't understand that. But I just want to push this vibration out there just to, exhort the flock and to, put it, into our minds even more, for us to understand, that we will be put in these tight situations where we're not going to get through it by being poker face or, as they say, macho or, tough guys. Nah, man, we're going to be in some situations where we're going to be breaking down before the Lord, man. And really humbling ourselves to the Most High and calling upon his name, in these tight situations for safety, for deliverance, for protection, for, for whatever we may need at the time, so I just want to put this out there, Lord willing, this video is edifying to the elect. And yeah, so let's hop right into it, man. This is Psalm chapter 22 and 1. All right, which Psalm 22, when you read it in the spirit, you understand this is prophetically talking about Yahweh Shai. Okay, so hey, we know that the servant is not greater than his Lord. If Yahweh Shai was in these situations and these were the emotions that were going through his head in his time of temptation and his darkest hour, then we got to understand that we're going to face and go through similar things because we are of his body. Okay. All right. It says, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Why art thou so far from helping me and from the words of my roaring? And we know that these words are the words that Yahweh Shai, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Those are the words that Yahweh Shai spoke while he was on the cross, bleeding out, wounds and whiplashings all over his body, a crown of thorns on his head, nails in his hands and in his feet, nailed to the cross. People that spit on him and probably throw shit at him and mocking him, and he was crying out to the Lord in this fashion. Okay. All right. Verse 2, it says, oh my God, I cry in the daytime, but thou hearest not, and in the night season, and am not silent. Okay. Now let me see I do have the word. Let me see if it's the same word actually. Now it's a different word. The word cry here. Okay. All right. Quara, which means to call out, to read, recite, to cry out, to proclaim. All right. To call, to cry, utter a loud sound, to call unto, cry for help, call with the name of God. Okay. So basically to call aloud. Okay. To cry out, when Yahweh Shai was on the cross, saying, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? He said that with a loud voice. Okay. All right. So we're going to be in situations where we're calling out to the Father with a loud voice, man. Really being vulnerable. And this is in the eyes of people that's watching him do this, man. Okay. And that's how the Lord's going to get the glory too, man. When we're in these tight situations and, we're being afflicted, okay, or are in the midst of some kind of affliction or persecution, you know, bearing the indignation of the Lord, dealing with the humiliation that comes with carrying the cross of Yahushai and calling out to his name, you know, and people hearing us call out to his name, calling out to the name of Yahweh Shai, then he works a deliverance or he puts the spirit upon us to endure. Okay, that's going to confound a lot of people. Okay, and give glory to the name of Yahweh Shai. Okay, all right. This is Matthew chapter 27. Okay, and verse 45, it says, now from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land unto the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour, Yahushua cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Okay. All right. Cried with a loud voice. Okay. All right. Which the word cried there in the Greek, okay, is anaboeo, okay, or anaboao. All right, it says to raise a cry, to cry out, to halu, okay, which it's interesting. I didn't even know that word was there because it comes up in the Hebrew, um, in the Hebrew, the word, the definition halu, all right, which the word halu means to cry or shout. A halu to attract attention or give encouragement to God, to dogs in hunting, to call out, to shout, to cry out, to yell, to bawl, to bellow, to scream, to shriek, to screech, to roar, to whoop, to hail, to greet. Okay, so we're gonna be really calling out to the Lord, man. All right, really crying out to His name, bawling out. You know what I'm saying? You know, to weep or cry noisily. That's what the word bawl means. To wail, to shed tears, to cry, to sob, to weep. Okay, all right, and so that's what Yahweh Shai did when he called unto the Most High in his affliction. You know, asking the Most High, why hast thou forsaken me? Okay, so Yahweh Shai had these emotions going through his head. Okay, and he expressed those emotions. He called out openly to the Most High for deliverance and for strength to endure. Okay, he was pleading with the Father. Okay, all right, and now going back to Psalm 22:3, and again, hey, understand the Lord, the servant is not greater than his Lord. Scriptures say, you know, shall we not drink of the cup, that he had to drink. Okay, and shall we not be baptized with the baptism that he is baptized with? Now, granted, we are not going to go through the same thing that Yahweh Shai went through, you know, on the same level that he went through it, but we're going to be in certain situations to where we are calling out to the Lord, man, and feeling forsaken, and the Lord's going to show his power or give us the strength to endure and comfort us in that moment. Okay, but it's not going to come without going through the straight gate. It's not going to come without, being broken and contrite. The scriptures say the Lord is nigh unto the brokenhearted and saveth such as be of a contrite spirit. So if you think if we can't go into these times thinking that we just gonna, muscle our way through and willpower our way through and just macho or no poker face type shit. That's not how it's going down. Okay, all right. All right. Well, which of course in certain situations the Lord can pour out a courageous spirit upon us, but that's not going to be all that we have in these times. Sometimes it's going to be certain situations where we will, be in a broken and contrite spirit, and the Lord will work in those moments. Verse 3, it says, "But thou art holy, O thou that inhabitest the praises of Israel. Our fathers trusted in thee. They trusted, and thou didst deliver them. They cried unto thee and were delivered. They trusted in thee and were not confounded," which the word cried there is Zayak. Okay. All right. Which means to cry out, to call for help. Okay, to cry out in need, to call one to one's aid. Okay, to summon. All right, and it means to shriek from anguish or danger. Okay, so we're gonna be in certain situations where that is, going to be our response to the situation, and for the hope and sake of deliverance. You know, so it's not going to just be all a whole cakewalk, and we just no, we're gonna have ups and downs. And hey, a perfect example of that is King David. Okay, a perfect example of that is King David. When you actually go through the scriptures about King David and his life, and certain situations he was in, certain situations where the Lord had a real courageous spirit on him, and there was certain situations where he was distressed, and he went before the Father. He had to cry out to the Lord, and the Lord worked the deliverance, man. Okay, we not robots, man. The Lord really wants to show His power and show, um, the different um, ways faith is expressed, you know, through the different experiences that we have. Okay, all right, all right. So I'm gonna go to Psalm chapter 31, and matter of fact, what is that precept? All right, so Psalm 31, and so it's a good, so many good places to start. Uh, all right, so I'm gonna start here, right? Psalm 31 and 17. It says, let me not be ashamed, O Lord, for I have called upon thee. Let the wicked be ashamed, and let them be silent in the grave. Let the lying lips be put to silence, which speak grievous things proudly and contemptuously against the righteous. Oh, how great is thy goodness, which thou hast laid up for them that fear thee, which thou hast wrought for them that trust in thee before the sons of men. Thou shalt hide them in the secret of thy presence from the pride of man. Thou shalt keep them secretly in a pavilion from the strife of tongues. Blessed be the Lord, for he hath shewed me his marvelous kindness in a strong city. For I said in mine haste, I am cut off before thine eyes. Nevertheless, thou heardest the voice of my supplication when I cried unto thee. Okay? So, King David is writing about a situation, where, people were slandering him and persecuting him. Okay? And he's writing this psalm to praise the Lord for the Lord delivering him from this type of distress when he cried unto the Lord. Okay. All right, which I believe again the word cry there is shawai, okay, which means to cry out for help, to shout, okay, and again the word it says but use only causatively or and reflexively to halu for help, which we know the word halu, okay, means to weep, to cry out, to weep noisily, freedom from some trouble, okay, all right, to cry out for help from for freedom from some trouble. All right, we're entering into the time of Jacob's trouble. So, we're coming into these times where persecution is coming, slander is coming, lies is coming, and shit's gonna hurt. Don't think shit ain't gonna hurt, man. Okay, this shit gonna hurt, in a lot of ways, man. You know, and we gonna have to lean on the Lord, man. We're gonna have to lean on our relationship with Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. It's not just gonna be, crying to the Lord may not be something that's just something private in a closet or in your room or in the car before you go to work or on your lunch break or something or in the bathroom. No, man. Calling out and crying unto the Lord, it's gonna be something that you gonna have to do in the moment, and the Lord gonna make situations happen, man, to where we are, in distress, and shit hurt. Shit hurt. You're gonna have to cry out, Yahweh Shem Shai, for safety and deliverance. That's how it's gonna go down in a lot of situations, man. And those situations will be faith boosters too, man. Okay? Those situations will be faith boosters for the elect, man. Okay? All right. It says, "Oh, love the Lord, all ye his saints, for the Lord preserveth the faithful, and plentifully rewardeth the proud doer. Be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart, all ye that hope in the Lord." Okay, this is Baruch chapter 4, verse 21. It says, "Be of good courage, O my children, cry unto the Lord, and he shall deliver you from the power and hand of the enemies. Okay? So that's how we're going to get saved out of here, by crying unto the Lord, man. These times are going to be tumultuous times that we're coming into. The scriptures say they shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. Okay? They shall be like madmen, sparing none. You know, they shall take, uh, spoil their goods and cast them out of their houses, man. Things are going to get real violent, you know, okay, against the believers in these last days, man. All right, it's gonna get real violent. It's gonna get up close and personal, you know, and uncomfortable. Okay, and any one of us can be touched. Our family members can be touched. Our loved ones, wives, children. You know, you women that believe, your husbands, your children. Yeah. Okay. And what are we gonna have to do? Cry upon Yahweh Bashem Yahushai and hope in His mercy. Okay. And that's how we're gonna get delivered out of here. Okay. And just trust in the Lord's will, whether He deliver us or whether we have to go out as martyrs. We're gonna go out on our shield of faith. That's how the fuck it's gonna go down, Lord willing. Okay. All right. So hey, whew, shit. Man, there's another precept I had in my mind. Okay, it came back to me because I didn't want to bring out this precept, but um I was thinking about bringing it out, but then I was like, nah, I ain't gonna bring it out. But now the spirit bringing it back, so I'm bringing it out. Okay. Um, 2 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 3, right? It says, "Blessed be Yahweh, even the Father of our Lord Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, the Father of mercies and the God of all comfort, who comforted us in all our tribulation." So the comfort comes in the midst of tribulation. What the fuck you need to be comforted for if you ain't gonna go through nothing? Okay. Now, granted, we ain't gonna be fucked up like all these people gonna be fucked up out here for sure. You know, the scriptures do say that my servants shall eat, drink, and be merry and have abundance. So that's coming. Okay. But we're gonna have to go through some things in order to get that comfort that we desire and that we believe we're gonna get. Okay. All right. It says that we may be able to comfort them which are in any trouble by the comfort wherewith we ourselves are comforted of the Most High. Okay, so again, being comforted happens in the midst of tribulation, so that on the other side, when we are strengthened, you know, and in the faith, we can go and comfort and exhort those who are going through uh, tribulation as well, because we've been strengthened. Okay, by the Most High. All right, it says, "For the sufferings of Hamashiach abounded in us, for as the sufferings of Hamashiach abounded in us, so our consolation also abounded by Hamashiach. And whether we be afflicted, it is for your consolation and salvation, which is effectual in the enduring of the same sufferings which we also suffer. And wherewith we be comforted, it is for your consolation and salvation. And our hope of you is steadfast, knowing that as ye are partakers of the suffering, so ye also shall be of the consolation." All right, so the same way we go through sufferings, okay, and we are comforted by, in the midst of those sufferings and afflictions. All right, we can then again turn around and comfort those who are also suffering. Okay, so that they can be partakers of the same comfort that we have in the Lord. All right, verse 8 says, "For we would not, brethren, have you ignorant of the trouble which came to us in Asia, that we were pressed out of measure, above strength, insomuch that we despaired even of life." Okay, oppressed, man. Tight situations, man. That's what's coming in these times, man. Okay, all right, situations like that, man. All right, the word press is kata, and it means to be. Oh, matter of fact, hold on, I might have the wrong word. To be pressed. Hold on, pressed out of measure. It says down from toward out according. Hold on, let's see. Let's see what the word is here. Aha. All right, so the word there is Strong's G916 Borreo, and it says to burden, to weigh down, to depress, to weigh down. Okay, to be pressed, man. Okay, all right. So they was under intense pressure. Okay, to the point where they thought they was gonna die. Okay, above strength. All right, so this was beyond it. This was beyond anything that they could, naturally adapt to, man. You know, all right. This wasn't something that their flesh or their wit or human strength could deliver them out of. They were really truly brought to the end of themselves, man. You know, pressed out of strength, or beyond strength. What does the word strength says? All right, the word strength, dynamos, Strong's G1411, and it says strength, power, ability. Okay, all right. It says power residing in a thing by virtue of its nature, or which a person or thing exerts and puts forth. Okay, power and resources arising from numbers. Let's see what it's. Let's see what it goes down into in the Thayer's lexicon. Okay. All right. It says beyond our power. Okay. Beyond our power. So we're gonna be in situations to where it's just beyond us. Like ain't nothing we could do. You know. We just sitting down and just dealing with it. You know. Ain't nothing we could do to get out of it underneath our own power. And so, of course that naturally breaks someone down, because the mind of man, we think we would like to have things underneath our control. We would like to be able to make things happen in our favor using our own strength and might or wisdom or willpower, right? That's just something that's innate in man in general. Okay, to have that sense of wanting to proactively do something about a situation and get yourself out of a situation, right? Okay, through your own power or might. But we coming into situations as we read here in First Corinthians, the Second Corinthians, the first chapter, where it will be beyond what we can muster or what we can do. We're gonna be, potentially in prison, you know, head in the guillotine, being hunted down, it's all type of slander coming out on the news, you know, people persecuting us, getting physically assaulted, separated from brothers or family members or loved ones, potentially watching other brothers go through similar things, not able to do nothing about it in our own strength, wanting to, but we can't. And what we're going to have to do, call upon Yahweh Shem Yahushai, okay? Cry out to the Lord. That's the only way. All right, it says, but we had the sentence of death in ourselves, that we should not trust in ourselves, but in the Most High, which raiseth the dead. Okay, and that's going to be, you know, the reality that we will all have to face. Okay, the reality of potentially dying or death, and do we believe that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai has the power to deliver us from death and even raise us up from the dead as he did Yahushai? Okay, who delivered us from so great a death, and doth deliver, in whom we trust that he will yet deliver us. Ye also helping together by prayer for us, that for the gift bestowed upon us by the means of many thanks may be given by many on our behalf. Okay, so prayer is going to be the chief weapon, the chief source of strength and comfort in these times. We're not just walking into this shit just, headstrong. That ain't how it's going to work. Okay, that's not how it's going to work. Yeah, I wish I even said, man, watch and pray lest he enter into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is fucking weak. That's why he was exhorting the disciples and turned apostles eventually to watch and pray. Stay up and pray with me, because, hey, shit get ready to go down. You know? So prayer is gonna be our only lifeline, man. Okay, we're gonna be in situations, man. You know, we're gonna be in situations where shit hurt. Okay, shit's gonna hurt, and we're gonna have to cry out to the Lord, and hey, that's gonna be our only hope. And we're gonna have to just fall into the hands of the Lord. You know, trusting we're gonna fall into the hands of the Lord and not into the hands of men. Whether we live or die, it's on Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. We do know that if we do die, He gonna raise us up first. Okay, that shit gonna hurt. It's gonna be humiliating at times. It's gonna suck. It's gonna be vexing. You know, but that's all we're gonna have to have. That's all we're gonna have is trusting Yahweh Shah on that level, man. You know, crying out to the Lord on that level and being okay with it. Understanding it's part of the movie and not getting offended. A lot of people gonna get offended. A lot of people, there's gonna be a lot of people that get offended, man, when this shit start really going down, man. Okay? And they're gonna abandon their faith. A lot of these fake niggas out here, man. Fake, you know, thinking shit just gonna be all sweet. You know, nah. Ain't no Jacob's trouble. All right, bruh. Oh, we done already went. Okay. Okay, bros. All right, broski. Matthew chapter 14, verse 25. Okay. It says, and in the fourth watch of the night, Yahweh went unto them walking on the sea. This is another example of the waters of the brother Mathathia. It says, when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, it is a spirit, and they cried out for fear. But straightway Yahweh spake unto them, saying, be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. Peter answering him and answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. And he said, come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Yahushua. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, saying, Lord, save me. Okay, so we're gonna come into situations where, you know, we stepping out into the unknown, proverbially walking on water, and it's gonna be tumultuous, and you know, it's gonna be boisterous, you know, proverbially speaking, you know, and our emotions, you know, the emotions might start to set in, and you know, what we're gonna have to do, call upon the Lord. And immediately Yahweh stretched forth his hand and caught him, and he said unto him, O thou little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt, man? Okay. And when they were coming to the ship, the wind ceased. And then they that were in the ship came and worshipped him, saying, of a truth, thou art the Son of the Most High, man. So we're going to be in situations in a similar fashion, man. Okay? Similar fashion to where we are in a tight spot, and, you know, it's crazy, and, you know, emotions flaring up, you know. The only thing we can do is call upon the Lord, man. Feeling overwhelmed, you know. All right. The water all over us. You know, Peter was soaked, man. But the Lord, he gonna come through when we cry out to him. Okay. All right. That's how it's gonna go in a lot of situations, man. Okay. A few more precepts. Exodus chapter 2, verse 23. It says, and it came to pass in the process of time that the king of Egypt died, and then the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage, and they cried, and their cry came up unto the Most High by reason of the bondage. Okay? And God heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and with Jacob. That's another beautiful example right there. All right? Which I believe the word cry there. Okay, let me see which word is that. All right. There's a Ike. All right. There's a Ike, which is to cry out, to cry for help. There you go again. To shriek for anguish or danger. Okay. Maccabees chapter 1. First Maccabees chapter 4, verse 10. All right. It says, now therefore let us cry unto heaven, if peradventure the Lord will have mercy upon us, and remember the covenant of our father, and destroy this host before our face this day. Okay. All right. Right. And this is a situation where they were surrounded by the heathens' armies, man. Okay. Don't scripture say the enemy shall come in like a flood, but the spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. So shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west. Why are they going to fear the name of the Lord for? because we just gonna be sitting there and no, man, we gonna hey shit. It's gonna get scary, man. It's gonna get intense, man. You know, a band of troops running upon you. You know, grabbing brothers out their cribs, throwing shit out. You know, arresting brothers, this, that, and the third, or assist believers, however it goes down. You know, what we gonna do? Call upon the name of Yahweh Shem Shai in that moment, cry upon his name. Okay. You know, if the boogers come out, if the tears come out, hey, so let it be. But the Lord gonna come through and start working the work, and that's how the fulfillment of Isaiah 59 will come to pass, man. Okay. So shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west. They're gonna fear why? Because we're gonna call upon them. They're gonna know, oh, they was calling upon the name of the Lord and the Lord delivered them. Okay. All right. Um and then there's another one, First Maccabees 9:46. Wherefore cry ye now unto heaven that ye may be delivered from the hand of your enemies. That's another one. And yeah, that's all. You know, I just wanted to run through that topic real quick. You know, I didn't want to really mean for it to be this long, but you know, we gonna come into some times, man, and into these times where we gonna be in these tight situations, and the only response that we gonna need to have is calling and crying out to the name of Yahweh Shem Shai, because shit is gonna hurt, man. And that's part of counting the cost, man. That's part of understanding that we have entered into the straight gate, and this is what comes with the territory. And the Lord is going to show Himself mighty in battle, okay, as He did for King David when King David cried unto the Lord in his distress. Matter of fact, let me get that. Let me get that. Let me get that. Mm-hmm. All right, this is a Psalm of David, Psalm chapter 18, verse 1. It says, to the chief musician, a psalm of David, the servant of the Lord, who spake unto the Lord the words of this song in the day that the Lord delivered him from the hand of all his enemies and from the hand of Saul. And he said, I will love thee, O Lord, my strength. The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, my God and my strength, in whom I will trust, my buckler and the horn of my salvation and my high tower. Okay. I will call upon the Lord who is worthy to be saved. So shall I be saved from mine enemies. The sorrows of death compassed me, and the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. Mighty King David was afraid. Okay. It says, the sorrows of hell compassed me about, the snares of death prevented me. In my distress, I called upon the Lord and cried unto my God, and he heard my voice out of his temple, and my cry came before him, even unto his ears. Then the earth shook and trembled, the foundations of the hills moved and were shaken, because he was wroth. Okay, so King David was in distress and he was afraid, you know, in this near death scenario, and he cried unto the Lord, man. Distress. So what's the word distress? The word distress, narrow, tight, straight, tight position. See, we're going to be in some tight positions. Straits, distress, adversary, foe, enemy, oppressor, hard pebble, flint. Okay, tight place, trouble. Okay, all right. And he cried unto the Lord, man. He cried. All right. All right. And that's again the word shawai. All right. The word shawai, which means to do what? To cry out for help, to shout, to halloo for help. All right. Which we know the word halloo means to weep, to bawl, which means to weep or cry noisily, to cry out. Okay. For freedom from trouble. All right. That's what happened, man. All right. So yeah, we're gonna be in these types of scenarios, man, and it's okay. All right, it's okay to trust in the Lord. It's okay to lean upon the Lord and call upon His name in the face of adversity and people mocking and talking shit, you know, abusing you, afflicting you, you know. But you call upon the Lord and He gonna come through. All right, He gonna come through in due season, man. So all praises to Yahweh Shem El Shai, B'Hashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, and salutations to the elect. Lord willing, this video is edifying. Shalom.